Quick review of the Rae Jessie R1 pickleball paddle. This is a carbon fiber paddle with T700 carbon fiber. They call it 3K carbon fiber. I'm not sure what that is, but it is T700, which means it is a good quality carbon, so it should last longer. I've been playing with this paddle for about 2 weeks. Super excited about it. There's some things I don't like about it. Let's get into it, but let's talk about specs first. This is a 16 mil. They call it a dual reactive polymer core. Widthwise, you're looking at 16.2 inches, and then widthwise, you're looking at 7.5 inches. The grip circumference is 4.6 inches, excuse me, and then the overall length is 5.5. This is going to be just kind of in that sweet spot if you do want to use two hands, or you can use single hand, no problem. Effective 2023, this is USAPA approved, so you can play in tournaments. And besides the paddle, you also get this great cover, which is always nice if you're just tossing your paddle in the bag and you've got other things. You don't have to worry about damaging it. Now, the other thing it came with was this bag, this like clear, or this mesh bag. When I saw this, I had diminished hopes on how good this paddle was. However, ignore the mesh bag. The paddle itself is actually a really good paddle. What I enjoyed with this paddle while playing with it is the control, especially up at the line with the dinks, trying to reset balls that are being struck at me. Tremendous control. You can actually feel the ball, what they call the dwell, how long the ball actually holds into the paddle or comes into the paddle and then reacts off the paddle. Power paddles really don't have a dwell. They just kind of boom and then bounce off. A good control paddle, you can actually feel the ball kind of indent, if you will, into the paddle and then spring back. This does a really good job of that. Being a control paddle, it doesn't have a lot of pop that other paddles I've played with. Pop being if you're blocking at the line, how fast is the ball going to pop off the paddle? And also as far as power, I can create good power on a serve. So if you're able to generate power, this paddle will generate power. However, the paddle itself is not going to generate power on its own, based on the design of the face and the core itself versus a power paddle. The other thing I really like about this paddle is the large sweet spot. A lot of times when you're playing with a paddle, if you hit the ball closer to the end, or what I call the head of the paddle, it tends to not react as much. And with this paddle, I did not notice that. When you get down towards the handle, you definitely will notice it, just the way everything tapers in. That's normal across all paddles. But I was really happy with the sweet spot on this paddle. Very consistent, it gives you confidence when you go and play, knowing that if you do hit the ball a little bit higher on the paddle than you want to, or off to the side a little bit, that it's still going to react the same way each time. As far as spin goes, I don't have any way of measuring spin. I do find that the surface does have a little bit of roughness to it because of the T700 carbon fiber. However, it doesn't have as much grit as other paddles, and that is noticeable on my serves. I tend to put a lot of spin on them, and I found that while yes, I was able to create spin, I wasn't able to create nearly the amount of spin that I was able to create on other paddles. The weight range on these paddles is 7.9 to 8.3 ounces. When I weighed my paddle brand new out of the bag, it came in at 8.6 ounces. For me, it's a little bit of a heavier paddle than what I like. That's a personal preference. I'm closer 7.8, 7.9. Once we get past 8 ounces, paddles just get a little bit heavy for my own personal preference. Now, other people don't like lighter paddles. They end up adding weight. So it's all based on your particular playing styles and what you like. What I do like about the paddle, I don't feel it has a lot of head weight. To me, that's a good thing. It feels balanced. Some paddles feel like they're just really heavy on the paddle end versus the handle. They're not well balanced, if you will. And this I find is very well balanced, so it plays very well in my hands. I felt very comfortable playing this paddle and enjoyed playing it more than I thought I would. Again, this thing scared me off a little bit when I first got it, but really been happy playing with this paddle. Who do I think this paddle's for? I would say this is a really good first investment into a pickleball paddle. So if you're new to pickleball, you've been borrowing paddles or playing with those cheap paddles, you're ready to invest into a good quality paddle, I think this is an excellent place. Because you really don't want a lot of power if you're a newer player. You really want to be able to learn how to control the ball, and having a paddle that's going to help you control that ball is going to be very beneficial. And you're probably not going to be putting a lot of spin on your paddles either, or on the ball. Therefore, you don't need a paddle that's got a more aggressive face that's going to create that spin. The other place I think this is really good for is maybe somebody who wants to try a more of a control paddle, what I would call a softer paddle. Maybe you went down the road of thinking you needed a power paddle and weren't happy with it, and you want to invest in more of a control paddle. I think you'd be very happy with this paddle. My personal rating for this paddle is 4 out of 5 stars. I think it is a great beginner to mid-range paddle. It performs well, it plays well, it's got a very nice durable surface, and I feel confident knowing that the paddle is going to react and respond the same way when I hit the ball, which is huge for me. Where I dinged it down a little bit for my personal preference is it's a little bit heavy at 8.6 ounces. I would like to see closer to that 7.9, 8.0 weight. And the other thing is it doesn't have as much spin that I would personally like to see. Overall though, very happy to play with this paddle, and I would feel very comfortable loaning this paddle out to somebody knowing that they could play well with it.